You have exactly 10 seconds to decide. Dinner with me, or you step into a ring with my best fighter. I should have been terrified. Any sane person would have been. But standing there in that dimly lit private dining room, surrounded by men in expensive suits who looked like they collected broken bones for fun, all I could think was how badly I wanted to wipe that smug grin off Dante Moretti's face. You know what they say about karma, right? That it always comes back around? That the universe has a funny way of putting arrogant people exactly where they need to be? Well, I'm living proof that sometimes karma needs a little help. Sometimes it needs a left hook and a solid uppercut to really drive the point home. My name is Claire Dalton, and this is the story of how I went from serving overpriced pasta to the most dangerous people in the city to becoming the one thing a mafia boss never expected: someone who wouldn't break. But before we get to the good part, before I tell you about the night I made an entire room of killers question everything they thought they knew about power, let me ask you something. How are you doing today? Wherever you are right now, whether you're listening to this on your morning commute or winding down after a long day, I hope you're comfortable. Because once I start telling you what happened, you're not going to want to stop listening. If you're enjoying this already, do me a favor and hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Share this with someone who needs to hear a story about standing up to bullies, even when those bullies run half the city. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for what comes next. But let me start from the beginning. I was 24 years old when I took the job at Luciano's. It was supposed to be temporary, just something to pay the bills while I figured out my next move. The restaurant had a reputation for being exclusive, the kind of place where you needed connections just to get a reservation. The tips were supposed to be incredible. The clientele was wealthy. It seemed perfect. I should have known better. My first day, the manager, a nervous man named Vincent with sweat perpetually dotting his upper lip, pulled me aside before my shift. "Listen carefully," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "There are rules here. Very important rules." I nodded, expecting the usual restaurant politics. Don't flirt with the chef. Don't give away free bread. Always upsell the wine. When the VIP room is occupied, you don't go in unless specifically called. You don't ask questions. You don't make eye contact unless spoken to first. And most importantly, if Mr. Moretti is here, you treat him like royalty. Understand? "Mr. Moretti?" I asked. Vincent's face went pale. "Just do what I say and you'll be fine." I should have walked out right then. Should have recognized the warning signs. But I needed the money, and I dealt with demanding customers before. How bad could it be? That first week passed without incident. I learned the menu, memorized the wine list, and mastered the art of being invisible when necessary. The regular dining room was exactly what I expected: wealthy couples celebrating anniversaries, business dinners with too much wine, the occasional celebrity trying to be discreet. But the VIP room remained a mystery. It was always occupied on Thursday and Saturday nights. Vincent would personally handle all the service, sometimes with one other senior server. The rest of us were told to stay away. I'd catch glimpses when the door opened. Men in dark suits, clouds of cigar smoke, the kind of laughter that never reached anyone's eyes. I wasn't stupid. I knew what kind of establishment I was working in. But knowing something and confronting it directly are two very different things. Everything changed on my 8th day. It was a Thursday night. The restaurant was busy, every table in the main dining room occupied. I was juggling for tables, all demanding attention simultaneously, when Vincent appeared at my elbow, looking like he might faint. "Claire, I need you to cover the VIP room." I stared at him. "You said never to go in there." "Maria called in sick. Tony's handling a situation in the kitchen. I have no choice." He gripped my arm, his fingers digging in hard enough to bruise. "Listen to me very carefully. They've already ordered. You just need to deliver the food and refill drinks. Don't speak unless spoken to. Don't look at them directly. Get in, do your job, get out."
Can you do that?
Every instinct I had screamed at me to refuse. But Vincent looked genuinely desperate, and I couldn't afford to lose this job.
Not yet. Phoenix.
He practically pushed me toward the kitchen. "Table 6 appetizers are up. Take them in now." I loaded the tray with practiced efficiency: calamari, bruschetta, a charcuterie board that probably cost more than my rent. My hands were steady as I balanced it all, but my heart was hammering against my ribs. The VIP room door was heavy, solid wood that muffled sound. I knocked once, waited for the grunt of acknowledgement, and pushed it open. The room was thick with smoke and tension. 8 men sat around a large circular table, cards and cash spread between them. They barely glanced up as I entered. I kept my eyes down, moving efficiently to set plates in front of each person. Finally, one of them uttered, "I'm starvin'." I was almost finished, almost home free, when my elbow caught the edge of a wine glass. It tipped, spilling deep red liquid across the white tablecloth and directly onto the lap of the man at the head of the table. Time stopped. The man stood slowly, wine dripping from his expensive pants. He was younger than I expected, maybe early 30s, with dark hair perfectly styled and a face that would have been handsome if not for the cold fury in his eyes. Dante Moretti. It had to be. "I am so sorry," I said quickly, grabbing napkins and moving toward him without thinking. "Let me help clean that up." His hand caught my wrist before I could touch him. His grip was iron, his skin surprisingly warm. "Do you have any idea," he said softly, his voice carrying despite the low volume, "how much these pants cost?" Every eye in the room was on us. The temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. "I'll pay for the dry cleaning," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "It was an accident." "I'm sorry."
Sorry.
He repeated the word like it tasted foul. "You spill wine on me. You try to touch me without permission, and you think sorry is sufficient." Something in his tone, the absolute certainty that I would crumble, that I would beg, made something snap inside me. I'd spent my whole life dealing with men who thought they could intimidate me. Rich men, powerful men, men who believed their money or status gave them the right to treat people like servants. I pulled my wrist from his grip. "It was an accident," I repeated, this time with an edge to my voice. "A genuine mistake."
Eve apologized.
"What more do you want?" The room went silent. Someone actually gasped. Dante's eyes narrowed. "What did you just say to me?" I said it was an accident. "I'm not going to grovel because of spilled wine." "Claire." Vincent's voice came from the doorway, strangled with panic. "Outside.
Now."
But Dante held up one hand, stopping Vincent mid-sentence. His gaze never left my face.
No.
"Let her stay. I want to hear this." He circled me slowly, like a predator assessing prey. I forced myself to stand still, to meet his eyes when he came back around. Up close, I could see the sharp intelligence behind the anger, the calculating way he studied every micro-expression on my face. "You're new," he said. 8 days. And in 8 days, no one told you who I am? They told me you're important, that I should be respectful." I paused. "They didn't say anything about letting you treat me like dirt over an accident." One of the men at the table made a choking sound. Another leaned back in his chair, a small smile playing at his lips like he was watching the most entertaining show of his life. Dante stepped closer. He smelled like expensive cologne and danger. "Do you understand what happens to people who disrespect me?" My heart was pounding so hard I was sure everyone could hear it. But I'd already gone too far to back down now. "I didn't disrespect you.
I spilled wine."
There's a difference." For a long moment, he just stared at me. Then, slowly, his lips curved into something that might have been a smile if it had contained any warmth whatsoever. "Interesting." He turned to the room. "Gentlemen, it seems we have an issue. This waitress has insulted me, disrespected me in front of all of you. What should I do about that?" "Fire her," someone suggested. "Too easy," Dante replied, his eyes never leaving mine. "She needs to learn a lesson. Something memorable." My stomach dropped. Vincent was practically hyperventilating by the door. "I apologize," I said, forcing the words out. This had gone too far. "I needed this job." "You're right. I was out of line. It won't happen again." I even gave a small bow, swallowing every ounce of pride I had left. Dante watched me bow, watched me humble myself, and his smile grew colder. Too late. Those 2 words landed like a death sentence. He walked back to his chair, settled into it like a king on a throne, and gestured for me to come closer. When I didn't move fast enough, two men stood up, their intentions clear. I walked forward on my own. "Here's what's going to happen," Dante said, his voice conversational now, almost friendly. "I'm going to give you two options.
Two chances to make this right.
You listening?" I nodded. Option 1. You join me for dinner. Tomorrow night. 8 o'clock. You dress appropriately, you show me proper respect, and we forget this ever happened. Every fiber of my being recoiled at the idea. Dinner with this man would be a nightmare. He'd spend the entire evening reminding me of my place, humiliating me in 1,000 subtle ways. Option 2, he continued, and his smile widened. You fight. I blinked. Fight. Leonardo. Dante gestured to a man standing in the corner, someone I hadn't even noticed until now. He was massive, easily 6'4" with shoulders that looked like they could support a building. Leonardo is my best fighter. Undefeated in 37 matches. Some people say he's even better than me. Leonardo stepped forward, cracking his knuckles. He looked at me the way someone might look at an ant they're about to step on. You step into the ring with Leonardo, Dante continued. 3 rounds. If you last all 3, we forget this happened.
You can keep your job.
No hard feelings. He was joking. He had to be joking. Those are my options? Dinner or getting beat up by a professional fighter? Those are your options. Someone laughed. The man who'd smiled earlier was now grinning openly. Dante leaned forward. Obviously, you'll choose dinner. No sane woman would choose to fight Leonardo. But I wanted to give you the option. To prove that I'm fair. He thought he had me cornered. Thought he'd backed me into a position where I'd have to accept his dinner invitation, where I'd have to sit across from him and let him enjoy his victory. What he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I'd been boxing since I was 16 years old. My father had been a trainer before he died. He taught me everything he knew, made me promise I'd never stop training, never stop fighting. I'd competed amateur for 6 years. Won regional championships. I'd only stopped because I couldn't afford to train full-time, couldn't make a living doing what I loved. But I'd never stopped practicing. Never stopped working the bag in my apartment building's gym. Never stopped running, drilling, keeping my skills sharp even when I had no idea if I'd ever use them again. Looking at Leonardo, at his size and confidence, I did the math. He was bigger, probably stronger. But size wasn't everything. Speed mattered.
Technique mattered.
And the one thing I'd learned from my father, the lesson he'd drilled into me over and over, was that overconfident fighters make mistakes. Leonardo thought I was just a waitress. Thought this was a joke. Which meant he wouldn't take me seriously until it was too late. I looked Dante Moretti directly in his cold, beautiful eyes and said, I'll take the fight. The room exploded. The silence that followed my declaration lasted maybe 3 seconds before chaos erupted. She's insane, someone said. This is going to be a massacre, another voice added, almost gleeful. Vincent looked like he was about to have a stroke. Claire, no. You don't understand what you're agreeing to. But Dante just sat there, his expression unreadable. He studied me like I was a puzzle he couldn't quite solve, his fingers drumming slowly against the armrest of his chair. You want to fight Leonardo, he said slowly, like he was testing the words. That's what you offered. I offered it as a joke. No one actually chooses that option. Well, I just did. Leonardo laughed, a deep rumble that came from his chest. Boss, let me have her. This will take 30 seconds. She'll learn her lesson quick. Dante held up one hand, silencing him. His eyes never left my face. You understand what you're agreeing to? This isn't some slap fight. Leonardo fights to win. He won't go easy on you, because you're a woman. Good, I said. I wouldn't want him to. Something flickered in Dante's expression. Surprise, maybe. Or interest. When's the last time you threw a punch? This morning. That was true. I'd done an hour on the heavy bag before my shift, same as I did every morning. My knuckles still had faint marks from where the wraps had rubbed. Dante stood up, walked over to me. This close, I could see flecks of gold in his dark eyes. He was tall, maybe 6'1", with the kind of build that came from actual training, not just genetics. There were scars on his knuckles. Old ones. "You're serious," he said. "Completely."
Why?
"Because I'd rather get hit than have dinner with you." The room went silent again. Then one of the men at the table burst out laughing. Others joined in, and even Leonardo cracked a smile. Dante's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. "Saturday night," he said.
10 o'clock.
"There's a private gym 2 blocks from here. My men will give you the address."
Fine.
"And Claire?" He leaned in close enough that I could feel his breath against my ear. "When this is over, when you're on the floor wondering what hit you, remember that you chose this. You had an easy way out." "I'll remember that you underestimated me," I whispered back. I turned and walked out of that room with my head high and my hands steady. It wasn't until I reached the kitchen that I started shaking. Vincent found me 30 seconds later. "What were you thinking? Do you have any idea what you just did?" "I made a choice. You signed up for a beating. Leonardo is dangerous, Claire. He's put people in the hospital. Hell, he's put people in the morgue. Then I guess I better win." Vincent stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "Win? You can't win. That's not how this works." But I wasn't listening anymore. My mind was already running through strategies, analyzing what I'd seen of Leonardo's stance, his movement, the way he carried his weight. He was big, powerful, but he'd been standing in that corner for over an hour without shifting his weight, which meant his knees were probably stiff. He'd cracked his knuckles when Dante mentioned fighting, which suggested he relied on hand strikes. And the way he looked at me, like I was already defeated, meant he'd come in aggressive, trying to end it fast. I could work with that. The rest of my shift passed in a blur. I served food, poured wine, smiled at customers, all while my brain worked through combinations and defensive strategies. By the time I got home at 2 in the morning, I had a plan. My apartment was small, a studio in a neighborhood that real estate agents generously called emerging. But it had everything I needed: a bed, a kitchen, and most importantly, enough space for my heavy bag. I changed into training clothes and started working. Jab, cross, hook. Circle left, circle right. Duck, weave, counter. My father's voice echoed in my head with every combination. "Speed beats power, Claire. Every single time. Let them swing big, wear themselves out, then take them apart piece by piece." I trained until my arms burned and sweat soaked through my shirt. Then I trained some more. The next morning, Friday, I woke up sore but focused. I had 1 day to prepare. 1 day to make sure I was as sharp as possible. I called in sick to work. Vincent sounded relieved when I told him, probably grateful he wouldn't have to deal with whatever awkward aftermath my confrontation with Dante had created. Instead, I went to the gym where I'd trained as a teenager. It was a boxing gym in the old sense, no fancy equipment or juice bars, just rings and bags and the smell of sweat and leather. My father had known the owner, and he'd let me train there for free even after Dad died. Marcus, the current owner, looked up when I walked in. He was in his 50s, built like a fire hydrant, with a face that had stopped too many punches. "Claire Dalton. Haven't seen you around much lately. Been working, but I need the ring today."
Why?
"You got a fight coming up? Tomorrow night." His eyebrows went up. "Official. Private." "How private?" I told him. Not everything, but enough. A powerful man, a challenge, a fight I couldn't afford to lose. Marcus listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "You know what you're doing?" "I know I don't have a choice." "There's always a choice, kid." "Not this time." He studied my face, then nodded slowly.
All right.
"Let's see what you remember."
We spent 6 hours in that gym.
Marcus put me through drills I hadn't done in years, pushing me harder than I'd pushed myself in months. He brought in 2 of his fighters to spar with me, both bigger than me, both aggressive. Bigger opponents rush, he reminded me between rounds. They think their size advantage means they can overwhelm you. So you make them miss. Make them punch air until their arms are heavy and their breathing is ragged. Then you go to work. By the time I left, My body was screaming in protest. But my mind was clear. I knew what I had to do. Saturday arrived too fast and too slow at the same time. I spent the morning stretching, eating properly, hydrating. I took a long bath in the afternoon, letting my muscles relax. I needed to be loose, ready to move. At 9:30, I got dressed. Sports bra, compression shorts, training shoes that were worn but reliable. I wrapped my hands carefully, the familiar ritual calming my nerves. At 9:45, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find a man in a black suit standing in my hallway. He was young, maybe mid-20s, with nervous eyes. "Miss Dalton? I'm here to take you to the venue. Give me 2 minutes." I grabbed my gym bag, took one last look around my apartment, and followed him downstairs. The car was exactly what I expected. Black, expensive, windows tinted so dark I couldn't see inside until the door opened. I climbed in, and the door shut behind me with an expensive click. We drove in silence. The man didn't speak, didn't even look at me in the rearview mirror. We headed toward the waterfront, into a part of the city where old warehouses had been converted into expensive lofts and private clubs. The car stopped in front of a building with no sign, just an address. The driver got out, opened my door, and gestured toward a metal door. Down the stairs, all the way to the bottom. My heart was pounding now. This was real. This was actually happening. I pushed open the door and started down. The stairs were concrete, lit by bare bulbs every 10 feet. I could hear voices below, the sound of people talking and laughing. Music played somewhere, something with a heavy bass line. The stairs ended at another door. This one was guarded by 2 men, both armed. They looked me over, nodded, and one of them pushed the door open. The space beyond was nothing like I expected. It was huge, clearly a former warehouse, with high ceilings supported by metal beams. But someone had transformed it into something else. There was a full-size boxing ring in the center, professional grade with proper ropes and padding. Around it, chairs were arranged in rows, stadium style. Behind those, a bar stretched along one wall, fully stocked. The lighting was dramatic, focused on the ring while leaving the edges in shadow. And it was packed. At least 100 people filled the space, all of them dressed like they'd come from expensive dinners or exclusive clubs. Men in suits, women in cocktail dresses. Everyone holding drinks, talking, laughing. This wasn't some back alley fight. This was entertainment for the wealthy and dangerous. I spotted Dante immediately. He stood near the ring, surrounded by men who all looked like they could kill someone with their bare hands. He was dressed differently than at the restaurant, more casual, but somehow even more intimidating in dark jeans and a black shirt. He looked up as I entered, and even from across the room, I felt the weight of his attention. He said something to the men around him, then walked toward me. The crowd parted for him automatically. No one wanted to be in his path. "Claire." He stopped a few feet away, his eyes traveling over me in a way that was purely analytical. Checking for weapons, maybe. Or assessing whether I'd actually go through with this. "I'm surprised you came." I said I would. People say a lot of things. Actually following through is different. He gestured toward the ring. "Last chance to change your mind. We can still have that dinner instead." "I'm not changing my mind." Stubborn. But he said it like it was a compliment. "Leonardo's in the back, warming up. You have 15 minutes to prepare. There's a locker room through that door if you need it." "I'm ready now." His lips curved slightly. Confident too. That's going to make this even more interesting. "What are the rules?" 3 rounds, 3 minutes each. Standard boxing rules. First one who can't continue loses. Or first one to stay down for a 10 count. He paused. "There's a doctor on site. Just in case." "I won't need a doctor." "We'll see." Someone called his name, and he turned away, leaving me standing alone in a crowd of strangers. I made my way to the locker room he'd indicated, needing a few minutes of quiet before this started. The room was small but clean. There was a bench, a mirror, hooks for clothes. I set down my bag and stared at my reflection. My father's voice came back to me, something he'd said the night before my first real fight. Fear is just your body getting ready. Let it sharpen you, not paralyze you. I took a deep breath, rolled my shoulders, and walked back out. The crowd had grown even larger. People were placing bets, I realized. Actual money changing hands, odds being called out. I caught fragments of conversation as I passed. 30 seconds, tops. I give her one punch before she goes down. Why is the boss even allowing this? It's cruel. I climbed through the ropes into the ring. The canvas was firm under my feet, the ropes tight and professional. This was a real setup. They'd done this before. Dante appeared at ringside. "Ladies and gentlemen," he called out, and the crowd quieted immediately. "Thank you for joining us tonight for some unexpected entertainment." On my right, Leonardo Ricci, undefeated in 37 professional fights. On my left, our brave, foolish waitress, Claire Dalton. Laughter rippled through the crowd. 3 rounds. Standard rules. Let's keep this civilized. More laughter at that. Leonardo climbed into the ring from the opposite corner. Up close, he was even more massive than I'd thought. His reach had to be 6 inches longer than mine. His fists looked like hammers. He grinned at me across the ring. "Don't worry, sweetheart. I'll make it quick." A referee I hadn't noticed stepped between us. He was older, professional-looking, clearly someone who'd done this before. Fighters to the center. We approached each other. The referee went through the standard instructions. Protect yourself at all times. Break when I say break. Touch gloves. Leonardo extended his gloves. I tapped them with mine. His grin widened. "Ready to take a nap? Are you?" I replied. The referee stepped back. "Fighters ready?" I nodded. Box. The bell rang. Leonardo came at me exactly like I predicted he would. Fast, aggressive, looking to end this in seconds. He threw a massive right hand that would have taken my head off if it connected. I wasn't there. I slipped left, felt the air move as his fist passed inches from my face. He followed with a left hook, putting his full weight behind it. I ducked under it, circled right. The crowd made a sound, something between surprise and disappointment. They'd expected me to go down already. Leonardo reset, his grin fading slightly. He came forward again, this time more measured. Jab, jab, right cross. Good combination, proper technique. I parried the jabs, slipped the cross. Countered with a quick jab of my own that snapped his head back. The crowd noise changed. People were paying attention now. Leonardo's expression shifted. The playfulness was gone. He started working behind his jab, trying to find his range, set up his power shots. He was good. Better than good. Every punch had bad intentions behind it. But he was also predictable. 3 jabs meant a right cross was coming. When he stepped forward with his left foot, a left hook would follow. My father had made me study fighters for hours, learning to read their patterns, anticipate their intentions. I let Leonardo think he was controlling the pace. Let him throw combinations, work his game plan. But I made him miss. Not by much, just enough. Slipped punches by millimeters, used footwork to stay just outside his range. 40 seconds into the round, I saw it. He dropped his right hand slightly after throwing his jab. Just for a fraction of a second, but it was there. I waited. Let him throw the jab again. When his right hand dropped, I stepped in and threw a straight right hand down the middle. It caught him clean on the chin. His head snapped back. His eyes went wide. He stumbled backward 2 steps. The crowd erupted. I didn't chase. That's what he'd expect, what he'd be ready for. Instead, I reset in the center of the ring, hands up, waiting. Leonardo touched his jaw, working it side to side. When he looked at me again, the last trace of amusement was gone. Now he was angry.
Good.
Angry fighters make mistakes. He charged forward, throwing everything he had. Hooks, uppercuts, combinations with no setup. Pure aggression backed by serious power. I went into defensive mode. Slip, duck, block, move. Let him punch himself tired. His breathing was already getting heavier. All that muscle required oxygen, and he was burning through it fast. The bell rang, ending round 1. I walked to my corner, breathing easily. My heart rate was elevated but controlled. Across the ring, Leonardo was sucking air, his chest heaving. His corner was talking to him urgently, probably telling him to calm down, stick to the plan. I glanced at ringside. Dante was standing now, his arms crossed, his expression unreadable. But he was watching me differently than before. Not like a joke anymore. The bell for round 2 rang. Leonardo came out more controlled this time. Someone in his corner had gotten through to him. He was using his jab again, working behind it, not overcommitting to his power shots. But he was also tired. I could see it in the way he moved, the slight heaviness in his feet. Round 1 had taken more out of him than he'd expected. I started pressing forward. Nothing crazy, just steady pressure. Making him work, making him think, making him move. Every few seconds, I'd throw a jab or a quick combination. Nothing that would hurt him, just enough to keep him reacting. 90 seconds into the round, his breathing was ragged. His punches were slower. His defense was getting sloppy. I saw my opening. He threw a lazy jab, his weight too far forward. I slipped it, stepped to the side, and threw a left hook to his body. Put everything I had into it, aimed right below his ribs. The air exploded out of his lungs. His hands dropped instinctively, trying to protect his body. That's when I went upstairs. Right hand, left hook, right hand again. All to the head. Clean, sharp, perfectly placed. Leonardo's legs buckled. He grabbed onto me, clinching, trying to buy time to recover. The referee stepped in. Break. I stepped back. Leonardo was hurt. Really hurt. His eyes were unfocused. His guard was down. The referee looked at him. You okay to continue? Leonardo nodded, but he was lying. I could see it. So could everyone else in the building. The referee stepped aside. Box. I didn't rush. Rushed punches miss. Instead, I walked him down, cutting off the ring, not letting him recover. He threw a weak jab. I slipped it and countered with a straight right hand that landed flush. His knees went. He caught himself on the ropes, but he was done. Completely done. The referee jumped in, waving his arms. Stop. Stop. The bell rang a second later. Round 2 was over. Leonardo's corner pulled him onto a stool. They were working on him frantically, trying to bring him back. But I knew that look. I'd seen it before. He wasn't coming back. The crowd was losing their minds. People were on their feet, shouting. Money was changing hands everywhere. The odds had apparently shifted dramatically. I looked at Dante again. He was staring at me like he was seeing me for the first time. No smile now. No arrogance. Just pure, focused attention. Something passed between us in that moment. Recognition, maybe. Or respect. I wasn't sure which. Leonardo's corner threw in the towel before the 3rd round started. The referee raised my hand. Winner by technical knockout, Claire Dalton. The crowd's reaction was split. Some people were cheering, apparently having bet on me despite the odds. Others looked stunned, like they couldn't process what they'd just witnessed. I climbed out of the ring on shaking legs. The adrenaline was starting to wear off, and everything hurt. But I'd won. I'd actually won. Someone handed me a towel and a bottle of water. I drank half of it in one go. That was incredible. I turned. The speaker was a woman, maybe 30, with sharp eyes and an expensive dress. She was looking at me with genuine admiration. Where did you learn to fight like that? My father taught me. Your father must have been one hell of a trainer. He was. More people approached, wanting to talk, asking questions. I answered on autopilot, my mind still processing what had just happened. I'd humiliated Leonardo in front of everyone who mattered in Dante's world. Made his best fighter look like an amateur. The crowd around me parted suddenly. Dante was there. We need to talk, he said. Privately. It wasn't a request. He led me through the crowd to a door at the back of the warehouse. Beyond it was a hallway, then an office. Expensive furniture, a desk that probably cost more than my car, floor-to-ceiling windows looking out over the water. He closed the door behind us. The sound of the crowd disappeared, leaving us in silence. For a long moment, he just looked at me. Then he moved to the bar in the corner and poured 2 glasses of something amber. He held one out to me.
Drink.
You earned it. I took it. My hands were still wrapped, making it awkward to hold the glass. The liquid burned going down but settled warmly in my stomach. You lied to me, Dante said. I never lied. You let me think you were just a waitress. Let me think this would be easy. You assumed I was just a waitress. I never said that's all I was. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Fair enough. He set down his glass. Who trained you? My father. He was a boxing coach. He died 6 years ago. Something flickered in his expression. I'm sorry. Don't be. He taught me everything I needed to know. I finished my drink and set down the glass. So we're done here, right? I won the fight. You said we'd forget this happened. That's what I said. Then I'm going home. I turned toward the door, but his voice stopped me. Wait. I turned back. He was watching me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. Have dinner with me? I blinked. What? Tomorrow night. 8 o'clock. Just dinner. No pressure, no games. I want to talk to you. That was one of the original options. I chose the fight specifically to avoid dinner. I know, but that was before. He moved closer. Not threatening, but deliberate. You're not who I thought you were, Claire. And I'm curious. Indulge me. Why should I? Because you're curious too. He was right, and I hated that he was right. Something had shifted during that fight. The way he'd watched me, the way he was looking at me now. This wasn't about dominance anymore. This was something else. One dinner, I said. And then we're even. No more challenges, no more games. One dinner, he agreed. I'll pick you up at 8. I didn't give you my address. His smile was slow and dangerous. Claire, I'm a very resourceful man. I know exactly where you live. That should have scared me. Should have sent me running. But instead, it sent a different kind of shiver down my spine. 8 o'clock, I said. Don't be late. I left before he could respond, walking back through the warehouse with my head high. People stared as I passed. Some looked impressed. Others looked calculating, like they were reassessing everything they thought they knew. The driver was waiting outside. He drove me home in the same silence as before, but this time I caught him looking at me in the rearview mirror. Respect, maybe. Or wariness. When I got back to my apartment, I stripped off my hand wraps and took the longest shower of my life. My knuckles were sore, my shoulders tight. But I'd done it.
Ide beaten Leonardo Rixi.
May Dante Moretti see me as something more than just a waitress who'd spilled wine. I fell into bed exhausted but wired. Tomorrow I had a dinner date with one of the most dangerous men in the city. A man who probably had a dozen bodies buried somewhere. A man who ran a criminal empire. A man who looked at me like I was the most interesting thing he'd seen in years. I should have been terrified. Should have been planning my escape, figuring out how to get away from all of this. Instead, I was thinking about what I would wear. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Wear something nice tomorrow. Somewhere you've never been before. Trust me. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back. I don't trust anyone. His response came immediately. Good. Neither do I. That's why this will be interesting. I set my phone down and stared at the ceiling, knowing that sleep was going to be impossible. Everything had changed in the span of a few hours. I'd gone from invisible waitress to someone who'd beaten the unbeatable. Someone Dante Moretti wanted to have dinner with. My father's voice echoed in my head one more time. Every fight has consequences, Claire. Win or lose. Make sure you're ready for what comes after. I wasn't sure I was ready, but I was damn sure I was going to find out. Sunday morning arrived with my entire body reminding me of every punch I'd thrown and every move I'd made. I dragged myself out of bed and stood in front of my bathroom mirror, cataloging the damage. There wasn't much, thankfully. A slight bruise on my left shoulder where Leonardo had caught me with a glancing blow. Some redness on my knuckles despite the wraps. My muscles were sore, but nothing serious. I'd gotten off light. Leonardo probably hadn't. I spent the day trying to act normal. Went for a slow run. Made breakfast. Cleaned my apartment. All while my mind kept drifting back to tonight.
To Dante.
What was I doing? Getting involved with a man like him was insane. Dangerous. The smart move would be to cancel, quit my job at the restaurant, maybe leave the city entirely. But I'd never been particularly smart when it came to backing down from challenges. At 6:30, I started getting ready. The problem was my wardrobe. I had exactly 3 dresses, all of them bought for job interviews or weddings. Nothing that screamed dinner with a Mafia boss. I settled on a simple black dress that hit just above my knee. It was elegant without trying too hard. I paired it with the only heels I owned that didn't make me want to die after an hour. Minimal makeup. Hair down and straight. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. I'd spent so long in work uniforms and training clothes that I'd forgotten what I looked like dressed up. At exactly 8 o'clock, there was a knock on my door. I opened it expecting the same driver from last night. Instead, Dante stood there in a dark suit that probably cost more than 3 months of my rent. He looked devastating, dangerous and beautiful in equal measure. His eyes traveled over me slowly, taking in every detail. You look beautiful. You look like you're about to close a business deal or bury a body. He laughed, genuine amusement lighting up his face. Why not both? That's not reassuring. I didn't promise to be reassuring. I promised dinner. He offered his arm. Shall we? I took it, and we walked downstairs together. A different car waited this time. Sleek, black, expensive. He opened the door for me, waited until I was settled, then walked around and slid in beside me. The driver pulled away from the curb without a word. Where are we going? I asked. You'll see. I'm not a fan of surprises. You weren't a fan of fighting Leonardo either, but you did that anyway. He shifted to face me better. Tell me about your father. How did he end up training boxers? The question caught me off guard. Why do you want to know? Because anyone who taught you to fight like that must have been exceptional.
I'm curious.
I studied his face, looking for the trap. But he seemed genuinely interested. He was a professional fighter when he was younger, I said slowly. Never made it to the championship level, but he was good. When he retired, he opened a gym. Trained kids from the neighborhood, mostly. Kept them off the streets, gave them something to focus on. And you? I was his only child. My mother left when I was 4. It was just the 2 of us. He started teaching me to box when I was 8. Said every girl should know how to protect herself.
Smart man?
He was. The familiar ache settled in my chest. He had a heart attack 6 years ago. Dropped dead in the middle of training a kid. He was only 52. Dante was quiet for a moment. That's how I'd want to go. Doing what I love, no warning, no slow decline. It's how he would have wanted it too. Doesn't make it easier for the people left behind. No, he agreed. It doesn't. The car was moving through the city now, heading toward the expensive district where I'd only been as a tourist. The buildings got taller, the streets cleaner, the people better dressed. What about you? I asked. How does someone end up running a criminal empire before they're 35? He smiled. Who says I run a criminal empire?
Please.
I'm not stupid. The restaurant, the fight club, the way everyone treats you like royalty. You're not just some businessman. And yet you're in a car with me anyway. I'm starting to question that decision.
Good.
You should question everything. He leaned back against the leather seat. My father built what I have now. Started from nothing. Worked his way up through sheer will and violence. By the time I was old enough to understand what he did, the empire was already established. And you took over? When he died, yes. I was 26. Too young, probably. But I learned fast. How did he die? Dante's expression went cold. Someone made the mistake of thinking they could take what was his. They were wrong. The way he said it made it clear the subject was closed. We'd both lost fathers. Both carried that weight. But where mine had died of natural causes, his had been murdered. The car stopped in front of a building I recognized. One of the most exclusive restaurants in the city, the kind of place that had a 6-month waiting list and turned away celebrities. How did you get a reservation here? I asked as Dante helped me out of the car. I own the building.
Of course he did.
The hostess recognized him immediately, her professional smile warming into something genuine. Mr. Moretti, your table is ready. Right this way. She led us through the restaurant, past tables filled with wealthy diners, to a private room at the back. It was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, the lights spreading out like stars. A single table sat in the center, already set with crystal and fine china. I'll send someone to take your order, the hostess said, then disappeared. Dante pulled out my chair. I sat, feeling like I'd stepped into someone else's life. This wasn't my world. These weren't the kinds of places I belonged. You're uncomfortable, Dante observed, sitting across from me. I'm a waitress. I serve at places like this. I don't eat at them. You're not just a waitress. You proved that last night. He poured wine from a bottle that had been waiting on the table. You're a fighter. A damn good one. Stop limiting yourself to one definition. Easy for you to say. You were born into money and power. I was born into violence and blood, he corrected. The money and power came later, and they came with a price. He raised his glass. To unexpected meetings. I clinked my glass against his. To not getting my head knocked off. We both drank. The wine was incredible, smooth and complex in ways I didn't have words for. A waiter appeared, rattled off specials in Italian, took our orders. I let Dante order for me, since the menu might as well have been written in code. When we were alone again, Dante leaned forward. I need to know something. Why did you really take that job at the restaurant? I told you. I needed the money. There are other restaurants. Safer ones. You had to have heard rumors about Luciano's. He was right. I had heard rumors. Had known it was connected to something darker. But I'd been desperate and stupid. I needed good money fast, I admitted. My father left medical bills.
Debt.
I've been trying to pay it off for 6 years, but it never seems to get smaller. The tips at Luciano's were supposed to be better than anywhere else. How much do you owe? That's not your business. I'm making it my business. How much? $38,000. He didn't even blink. That's it. That's it? That's more money than I'll probably ever have at one time in my life. What if I paid it off? I stared at him. What? Your debt. What if I cleared it? All of it. Tomorrow. My heart started pounding. Why would you do that? Because I can. Because $38,000 means nothing to me, but it clearly means everything to you. And what would you want in return? Nothing. Bullshit. Nobody gives away that kind of money for nothing. He smiled. I'd want you to stop working at the restaurant. Why? Because you're wasted there. You're smart, talented, capable of so much more. Watching you serve pasta to criminals is offensive. So you'd pay off my debt, and then what? I'd be unemployed. You'd be free.
To do whatever you want.
Train, fight professionally, go back to school. Whatever you choose. It was tempting. Dangerously tempting. Having that weight lifted, being able to breathe for the first time in 6 years. But nothing came free. Especially from men like Dante Moretti. No, I said. His eyebrows rose.
No.
I don't need you to save me. I'll pay off my own debt. That's stubborn and impractical. That's me. He studied me for a long moment, then laughed. You know, most people jump at the chance to let me help them. I'm not most people.
No.
You're really not. The food arrived, course after course of incredible dishes I could name. We ate and talked, the conversation flowing easier than it should have between two people who barely knew each other. He told me about growing up in his father's world, learning the family business in brutal lessons. I told him about growing up in the gym, learning to take punches before I learned algebra. Did you ever want out? I asked between courses. Of this life. Every day when I was younger, he admitted. I wanted to be normal. Have normal problems. Date girls without worrying they were using me for my connections or were terrified of what I did. And now I've accepted what I am. This is my world. I can't change it, so I might as well rule it. That's depressing. That's realistic. He reached across the table, his fingers brushing against mine. But meeting you has reminded me that surprises still exist. That not everyone fits into the boxes I expect. His touch sent electricity at my arm. I should have pulled away. Should have remembered who he was, what he represented. Instead, I turned my hand over, letting our fingers intertwine. This is crazy, I said softly. You know that, right? Completely insane. You're a criminal. I'm a waitress who punched your guy. You're a fighter who refuses to bow. And I'm a man who's never met anyone like you. The moment stretched between us, charged with possibility and danger in equal measure. My phone buzzed in my purse. I ignored it. It buzzed again. Then again. You should check that, Dante said. Reluctantly, I pulled it out. 3 messages from Vincent. Claire, where are you? We need to talk. It's important. Call me. The boss is looking for you. Not Mr. Moretti. His boss. Please be careful. My blood went cold. What does that mean? You're the boss. Dante's expression darkened. Read it to me.
I did.
He pulled out his own phone, made a call.
Marco.
Who's been asking about Claire Dalton? A pause.
When?
Why wasn't I informed? He listened, his jaw tightening. Lock it down. Nobody talks to anyone about her without going through me first. He hung up and looked at me. We need to go. Now. What's happening? My uncle. He runs the larger organization. I answer to him, but I have my own territory, my own operations.
He apparently heard about last night. About you.
So what? I want to fight. You beat Leonardo in front of 100 people. You humiliated one of our best fighters. That makes you interesting. And when you're interesting to my uncle, that's dangerous. He threw cash on the table, more than enough to cover the meal 3 times over, and pulled me to my feet. We rushed through the restaurant. People stared but got out of our way. The car was already waiting outside, engine running. Where are we going? I asked as we pulled away. Somewhere safe. My uncle doesn't know about it. Dante, I need to understand what's happening. My uncle, Salvatore Moretti, runs everything. I'm just a piece of his empire. He's old school, traditional, and he doesn't like surprises. Your surprise. What does he want with me? I don't know yet. But men like my uncle don't just want to talk. They want to own things. Control them. He looked at me, real fear in his eyes. I won't let him touch you. The car moved fast through the city, taking turns and back streets I didn't recognize. Finally, we pulled into an underground garage beneath a building I'd never seen before. Dante led me to an elevator that required a keycard. We rode up in silence, his hand never leaving the small of my back. The doors opened on a penthouse. Luxurious, but not ostentatious. Windows overlooking the water. Clean lines and expensive furniture. This is my private place, he said. Nobody knows about it except my most trusted people. How long do I have to stay here? Until I figure out what my uncle wants and how to handle it. I walked to the windows, looking out at the city lights. My reflection stared back at me, looking lost. I won one fight, I said quietly. How did everything get so complicated? Dante came up behind me, not touching, but close enough that I could feel his warmth. You didn't just win a fight. You showed everyone in my world that you're extraordinary. You can't be extraordinary in this life without consequences. I turned to face him. I don't want to be extraordinary. I just want to pay my bills and live my life. Too late for that. He was right. The moment I'd stepped into that ring, I'd changed everything. There was no going back to being invisible now. What do we do? I asked. We wait. I'll handle my uncle. But Claire? He cupped my face in his hands. Whatever happens, you stay away from him. He's not like me. He's something darker. And what are you? His smile was sad. I'm the man who's going to keep you safe, even if it destroys me. Then he kissed me. The kiss was fire and danger and inevitability all at once. I should have pushed him away. Should have remembered all the reasons this was wrong. But his hands were gentle despite the violence I knew they were capable of, and his mouth tasted like wine and promises I shouldn't believe. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. "That was a mistake," I whispered. "Probably." He didn't move away. "But I'm not sorry." "You should be. This complicates everything." Everything was already complicated. His thumb traced my jawline. "At least now I know you feel this too."
I did.
God help me, I did. Something had sparked between us from the moment I'd refused to bow, and it had only grown stronger with every interaction. The fight, the dinner, this moment. It all felt inevitable, like we'd been moving toward this since the beginning. My phone buzzed again. I pulled it out, expecting another message from Vincent. Instead, it was an unknown number. "Miss Dalton, my nephew seems quite taken with you. I'd very much like to meet the woman who has captured his attention.
Tomorrow.
2 o'clock. The address will be sent separately. Come alone, or people will get hurt, including Dante." Ice flooded my veins. I handed the phone to Dante. His face went white as he read it. How did he get your number?" "I don't know." "Damn it." He paced across the room, running his hands through his hair. "He's moving faster than I expected. He must see you as a threat." "A threat?"
I'm nobody.
"You're someone I care about. That makes you leverage." He turned back to me. "You can't go to this meeting. He said people would get hurt if I don't. He'll hurt you if you do." "What does he want?" Dante's expression was grim.
To test you.
"To see if you're worth the attention you're getting. My uncle doesn't believe women belong in our world except as decorations or tools. You've disrupted that worldview. He'll want to put you back in your place."
How?
"I don't know. But whatever he has planned, it won't be pleasant." I walked back to the windows, my mind racing. Everything had spiraled so fast. 3 days ago, I was just trying to make rent. Now I was hiding in a Mafia boss's secret apartment, being threatened by an even more dangerous Mafia boss. "Tell me about him," I said. "Your uncle. Who is he really?" Dante was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was different. Harder. "Salvatore Moretti is the reason my father is dead. He's also the reason I'm still alive. He's a walking contradiction wrapped in violence and old-world traditions." "Did he kill your father?"
No.
"But he let it happen. My father was challenging him, trying to take more territory, more power. Salvatore decided my father had gotten too ambitious. So when the hit came, he didn't warn him, didn't protect him." "Why did he spare you?" "Because I was smart enough to kneel, to swear loyalty, to take what was left of my father's operation and fold it into his empire." Dante's hands clenched into fists. I was 26 and terrified and desperate to survive. So I bowed to the man who let my father die. And now I run my territory efficiently. I bring in money, handle problems, don't make waves. I'm the good nephew who knows his place. "But you hate him." "With everything I am." I turned to face him. "Then why not leave? Take what you have and get out. Because you don't leave this life. You either die in it or you rule it. There's no retirement plan for people like me." He met my eyes. "But sometimes I think about it. What it would be like to just disappear. Start over somewhere nobody knows my name." "Why don't you?" "Because I'm a coward. Because the devil you know is safer than the unknown. Because I'm trapped by my own choices." He crossed the room to me. "But meeting you has made me wonder if maybe being trapped is a choice too." "Dante, I know. It's too much, too fast. But I haven't felt this alive in years. You make me remember what it's like to want something more than survival." Before I could respond, his phone rang. He answered it immediately.
Talk to me.
His expression darkened as he listened. "When? How many? Damn it. Lock everything down. Nobody moves without my authorization." He hung up and looked at me with fear in his eyes. "What happened?" "My uncle just seized 3 of my businesses. Clubs I own, a warehouse. He's moving against me." "Because of me?" "Because he sees weakness. He thinks you're a distraction. That I'm losing focus." Dante grabbed his jacket. "I need to go handle this. You stay here. Don't open the door for anyone. Don't leave for any reason." "What about the meeting tomorrow?" "You're not going." I'll deal with Salvatore myself. He said people would get hurt. People are already getting hurt. At least this way, you're safe. He kissed me again, hard and desperate. Then he was gone, the elevator doors closing behind him. I was alone in the penthouse with my thoughts and fears, and the growing realization that I was in way over my head. I tried to sleep but couldn't. Kept checking my phone for messages. Dante sent one around midnight. Situation contained for now.
Get some rest.
I'll be back in the morning. But he wasn't. Morning came with no word from him. I found food in his kitchen, made coffee, paced his apartment like a caged animal. The city stretched out below me, beautiful and indifferent to my crisis. At noon, my phone rang. Unknown number again. Miss Dalton.
I'm disappointed.
My nephew seems to think he can protect you from me. He's wrong. I'll give you one more chance. 2 o'clock. The address is 847 Riverside Drive, Warehouse District. Come alone. If you don't show, I'll assume you're not worth my time, and I'll take out my frustration on Dante. He has so many lovely fingers. I wonder how many he needs to run his businesses. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, my hands shaking. This was insane. I should call the police, run, do anything except walk into an obvious trap. But the image of Dante being tortured because of me made my stomach turn. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the elevator. The warehouse district was exactly what it sounded like. Old buildings, cracked pavement, the smell of the river mixing with industrial decay. Number 847 was a massive structure with broken windows and graffiti covering the walls. I pushed open the rusted door and stepped inside. The interior was dim, lit only by sunlight filtering through holes in the roof. The space was enormous and mostly empty except for some old crates and machinery. Miss Dalton. Punctual. I appreciate that. The voice came from above. I looked up to see a man standing on a metal catwalk. He was older than Dante, maybe mid-50s, with silver in his dark hair and a face that might have been handsome before violence had carved lines into it.
Salvatore Moretti.
He descended a metal staircase with measured steps, 6 men following behind him. All of them were armed. All of them looked like they knew how to use their weapons. You're even prettier than the photos, Salvatore said, circling me slowly. I can see why my nephew is smitten. Though I must admit, I expected someone more intimidating. You beat Leonardo, yes? Yes. Impressive. He's a good fighter. Expensive to train. You cost me money with that little stunt. Send me a bill. He laughed. Spirit. I like that. My nephew usually prefers docile women. You're a refreshing change. What do you want from me? Want? Nothing. I simply wanted to meet you. To understand what makes you special enough to distract Dante from his responsibilities. I'm not distracting anyone. I'm just trying to live my life. But you're distracting him. He's making mistakes. Losing focus. Businesses are suffering. All because he's too busy playing hero for a waitress who can throw a punch. That's not my fault, isn't it? You chose to fight Leonardo. You chose to accept his dinner invitation. You chose to let my nephew fall for you. Salvatore stopped in front of me. Every choice has consequences, Miss Dalton. I'm here to teach you that lesson. One of his men moved forward, handed him something. My stomach dropped when I saw what it was. Boxing gloves. Here's how this works, Salvatore said. You're going to fight again. My choice of opponent this time. If you win, you walk out of here, and we forget this conversation ever happened. If you lose... He smiled. Well, let's just say Dante will learn an important lesson about letting emotions cloud his judgment. And if I refuse to fight, then my men will take you apart piece by piece while we record it and send the video to Dante. Your choice. I looked at the gloves, then at Salvatore, then at the 6 armed men surrounding us. There was no way out except through. Who am I fighting? Salvatore's smile widened. Me. My blood ran cold. I'd seen Dante fight on old surveillance videos from the club. He was good. Trained, skilled, dangerous. If his uncle was even half as capable, I was in serious trouble. You're afraid, Salvatore observed. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. I'm not afraid of you. Then you're stupid. But let's find out. His men cleared space in the center of the warehouse. Someone brought out 2 chairs as makeshift corners. Another produced a bell. I pulled on the gloves, my mind racing through strategies. Salvatore was older, which meant he'd be slower. But older also meant experienced. He'd seen every trick, knew every counter. We met in the center of the improvised ring. No referee this time. No rules beyond survival. The bell rang. Salvatore came forward methodically. No wasted movement, no unnecessary aggression. Just calculated pressure.
He threw a jab.
I slipped it, but barely. He was faster than I expected. He followed with a combination. Jab, jab, right cross, left hook. Textbook boxing. Perfectly executed. I blocked most of it, but the hook caught me on the shoulder. Pain exploded through my arm. He was strong. Much stronger than Leonardo. I circled, trying to find an angle, but he cut off the ring expertly. He'd done this 1,000 times. This wasn't just training. This was experience bought with blood. You're good, he said, not even breathing hard. Better than I expected, but not good enough. He came forward again. This time he feinted with his jab and threw a right hand to my body. It landed like a sledgehammer. Air rushed out of my lungs. I backpedaled, trying to recover, but he didn't give me space. He walked me down, throwing combinations, mixing speeds and levels. Every punch had bad intentions. I managed to counter with a quick jab that snapped his head back, but he just smiled. Better, but still not enough. He increased the pressure. His fists were everywhere. I was blocking, slipping, moving, doing everything my father had taught me, but it wasn't enough. A right hand got through my guard and caught me on the cheek. Stars exploded in my vision. Another punch, this one to my ribs. I felt something crack. I was losing.
Badly.
This is the lesson, Miss Dalton, Salvatore said, still throwing punches. You don't belong in this world. You're out of your depth. The sooner you accept that and walk away from my nephew, the better for everyone. Rage flooded through me. Rage at being underestimated, at being used as a pawn, at this man thinking he could break me. My father's voice echoed in my head. When you're hurt, when you're scared, when everything tells you to quit, that's when champions are made. That's when you dig deeper than you knew you could. I stopped moving backward. Stopped defending. Started pressing forward. Salvatore's eyes widened slightly. I was doing the unexpected. I threw a combination with everything I had left. Left hook to the body, right hand upstairs, left hook again. The body shot landed clean. So did the right hand.
Salvatore stumbled backward.
His men shifted nervously. I didn't give him time to recover. I walked him down the way he'd walked me down. Threw punches in bunches. Mixed levels, speeds, angles. Another body shot landed. Another right hand upstairs. Salvatore's guard was dropping. His breathing was ragged. One more combination. Left hook to the body. Right hand to the head. Left hook to the head. Salvatore went down. The warehouse went silent. He stayed on one knee for a moment, then slowly rose to his feet. Blood trickled from a split lip. His eye was already swelling. He started laughing. Incredible, he said, pulling off his gloves. Absolutely incredible. No wonder Dante is obsessed. I kept my guard up, not trusting this sudden shift. Relax, Miss Dalton. The fight is over. You won. Fair and square. He gestured to one of his men, who brought him a towel. He dabbed at his lip, still smiling. I haven't been hit like that in 10 years. So we're done? I can leave. You can leave. But first I need to tell you something. Something about my nephew that you should know. My stomach tightened. What? Dante didn't just take over his father's operation because he wanted to. He did it because I gave him a choice. Take over, or watch his mother die slowly and painfully. The world tilted. His mother is alive? Very much so. Living in a very comfortable facility upstate. Under my protection. As long as Dante behaves, as long as he does what I say, she stays comfortable and safe. You're blackmailing him.
I'm ensuring loyalty.
There's a difference.
Salvatore stepped closer.
So, when you think about getting more involved with my nephew, remember this. Every choice he makes is influenced by his mother's safety, including his interest in you. How do you know his feelings are real? How do you know he's not just using you as a distraction from his chains? The words hit like punches I hadn't seen coming. You're lying. Am I? Ask him yourself. Ask him about Angela Moretti. Ask him why he's never mentioned his mother. Ask him why he bows to me despite hating everything I am. He turned and walked toward the door, his men following. Oh, and Miss Dalton? You fought well today. You've earned my respect. But respect in my world is dangerous. It means I'll be watching you very closely. Then they were gone, leaving me alone in the warehouse with blood on my gloves and doubt eating through my chest. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and called Dante. He answered immediately. Claire? Where are you? I've been looking everywhere. I need you to tell me the truth about something. Anything. Is your mother alive? The silence that followed told me everything I needed to know. Claire, where are you? Dante's voice was tight with panic, but I could barely hear him over the ringing in my ears.
Is your
mother alive? Another pause. Longer this time. When he spoke, his voice was hollow. Yes. The single word shattered something inside me. I ended the call. My phone rang immediately. I ignored it. It rang again. And again. Finally, I answered. Let me explain, Dante said desperately. You lied to me. I never lied. I just didn't tell you everything. That's the same thing. I leaned against a rusted support beam, my ribs screaming in protest. Your uncle told me about how he's blackmailing you, about how everything you do is to keep her safe. He had no right. He had every right. Someone needed to tell me the truth. My voice cracked. Was any of it real, Dante? Or was I just a distraction? Something to make you feel less trapped? Don't do that. What I feel for you is real. How can I believe anything you say? You've been lying from the beginning. I was protecting you. If Salvatore knew how much you meant to me, he'd use you the same way he uses my mother. I was trying to keep you separate from all of this. Well, congratulations. Your plan failed spectacularly. He knows exactly how much I mean to you, and he just beat that information into me.
What?
Claire, what did he do? He made me fight him. And when I won, he told me the truth you should have told me yourself. I could hear him moving, doors slamming. Where are you? I'm coming to get you.
No.
Claire, please. I need space. I need to think about all of this, about whether I can trust anything you've said. I love you. The words stopped me cold. You don't even know me. I know enough. I know you're the first person in years who's made me want something more than survival. I know you're brave and stubborn and you refuse to break even when you should. I know that losing you would destroy me. Tears burned behind my eyes. Love isn't enough when it's built on lies. Then let me tell you everything. All of it. No more secrets. Just give me a chance to explain. I wanted to say yes. Wanted to believe we could fix this. But my ribs were cracked, my face was bruising, and I'd just fought a man twice my age because I'd been stupid enough to get involved with his nephew. I'll call you when I'm ready to talk.
Don't look for me.
I hung up before he could respond and turned off my phone. The walk back to my apartment took an hour. Every step hurt. My ribs were definitely cracked, maybe broken. My face was swelling. But the physical pain was nothing compared to the ache in my chest. I'd let myself care about Dante. Let myself imagine something that could never exist. A relationship with a man trapped by blackmail, violence, and family obligation. How stupid could I be? When I finally reached my building, Vincent was waiting outside.
Jesus Christ, Claire.
He rushed over, taking in my appearance. What happened? Long story. The restaurant has been in chaos. Mr. Moretti has been calling, demanding to know where you are. His men have been searching everywhere. I don't work there anymore. What? Claire, you can't just quit. Not after everything that's happened. Watch me. I pushed past him toward my door. Wait. He grabbed my arm, then immediately released it when I winced.
I'm sorry, but you need to understand something.
You can't just walk away from these people. They don't let go that easily. I'll take my chances. They'll come after you. After everyone you care about. This isn't some corporate job where you give 2 weeks' notice and move on. This is the mob, Claire. I know what it is. I also know I'm done being a pawn in their games. I left him standing there and climbed the stairs to my apartment. Every step was agony. When I finally got inside, I locked the door, put a chair under the handle, and collapsed on my bed. My phone was still off. I wanted to keep it that way forever. But reality doesn't care what you want. The next morning, I woke to pounding on my door. I ignored it. The pounding continued, growing more insistent. Claire, I know you're in there. Open the door. Not Dante's voice. Someone else. Go away. Can't do that. Boss sent me to check on you. Make sure you're okay.
I'm fine.
You don't sound fine. You sound hurt. Let me in, or I'm breaking down this door. I dragged myself out of bed and opened the door. One of Dante's men stood there, the same one who'd driven me to the fight club. Marco, I think his name was. He took one look at me, and his expression hardened. Who did this? Your boss's uncle. Salvatore did this to you? In a fair fight. I agreed to it. Now, please leave. I can't do that. Boss's orders. I'm supposed to make sure you're safe and bring you back to him. I'm not going anywhere with you. Marco's phone rang. He answered it, listened, then held it out to me. He wants to talk to you. I don't want to talk to him. Claire, please. Dante's voice carried even from the phone speaker. Just listen. That's all I'm asking. Against my better judgment, I took the phone.
What?
I sent Marco because you need medical attention. Your ribs are probably broken. You need an X-ray, proper care. I'll go to a hospital. And tell them what? How you got injured. They'll ask questions you can't answer. Let Marco take you to my doctor. Someone who understands discretion. He was right, and I hated that he was right.
Fine.
But just the doctor. Then I'm coming back here. Agreed. Marco drove me to an office building downtown. The doctor was a woman in her 40s, professional and thorough. She took x-rays, examined my ribs, my face, my hands. 3 cracked ribs, she said finally. Severe bruising. You're lucky nothing was broken completely. She wrapped my ribs tightly, gave me painkillers and strict instructions. No strenuous activity for at least 6 weeks. Light movement only. And ice for the swelling. Thank you. Who did this to you? I met her eyes. Does it matter? She was quiet for a moment. I've been treating Mr. Moretti's people for 5 years. I've seen a lot of violence. But I've never seen him allow someone he cares about to get hurt like this. He didn't allow anything. I made my own choices. Then make another choice. Let him help you. Whatever happened between you two, he's been calling every hour since yesterday, desperate for news about you. He lied to me. Did he? Or did he just not tell you everything immediately? There's a difference. She handed me the prescription. Men like Dante Moretti don't fall in love easily. When they do, they fall hard. Don't throw that away because of pride. Marco drove me back to my apartment in silence. When we arrived, he handed me a bag. From the boss. Food, medical supplies, everything you need. He said to tell you he's not giving up, but he'll give you space. I took the bag without comment and went inside. For 3 days, I barely moved. Ate the food Dante had sent, took the painkillers, stared at my ceiling. My phone stayed off. I didn't want messages, didn't want to deal with reality. But on the 4th day, reality came to me. Someone slid an envelope under my door. Inside was a single piece of paper. Claire, I know you don't want to see me. I understand. But I need to tell you about my mother. About why I never mentioned her. Please, give me 1 hour. After that, if you want me gone, I'll disappear from your life forever. Tonight. 8 o'clock. The coffee shop on 5th and Main. I'll be waiting. Dante. I held the note for a long time, reading it over and over. Every logical part of my brain screamed to ignore it, to stay away from Dante and everything he represented. But my heart, that stupid, traitorous organ, wanted answers. At 7:45, I got dressed. At 7:50, I walked out of my apartment. At 8 o'clock exactly, I pushed open the door to the coffee shop. Dante sat at a corner table, his back to the wall. He looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes, stubble on his jaw, his usual perfect appearance shattered. When he saw me, relief flooded his face. "You came. I want answers. That's all. That's all I'm asking for." He gestured to the chair across from him.
Please. Seat.
I sat, keeping the table between us like a barrier. For a long moment he just looked at me, taking in my bruised face, the careful way I held my ribs. "I'm sorry," he said finally, "for everything. For not telling you about my mother. For letting you get hurt. For dragging you into my world. Start talking. Tell me everything." Dante took a deep breath and began. "My mother's name is Angela. She's 58 years old and has early onset dementia. It started 5 years ago, slowly at first. Forgetting names, losing track of conversations. Then it got worse." He stared at his untouched coffee. "When my father was killed, Salvatore came to me with an offer. Take over my father's territory and swear loyalty to him, or watch my mother deteriorate in a state facility with no care, no dignity, no hope. He had her moved to a private care home. The best doctors, around-the-clock nursing, everything she could possibly need. But only as long as I do exactly what he says. That's why you bow to him. That's why I bow to him. That's why I run his errands, manage his businesses, pretend I'm grateful for his protection. Because if I don't, my mother suffers." "Why didn't you tell me this?" "Because everyone I tell becomes leverage. Salvatore already has my mother. I couldn't let him have you too." His eyes met mine. "But I failed. He found out about you anyway, and now you're in danger because of me. I chose to fight Leonardo. I chose to have dinner with you. Those were my decisions. Decisions you made without knowing the full situation. If you'd known I was being blackmailed, would you have gotten involved? I thought about it honestly. I don't know."
Exactly.
"And I was selfish enough to want you in my life anyway, even knowing it would put you at risk." He leaned forward. "But after what Salvatore did to you, I can't keep being selfish. You need to get away from me, from this city, from all of this. Run away. Disappear. I have money set aside. Enough to pay off your debt and give you a fresh start somewhere else. New identity, new life, everything you need to be safe. You want me to just vanish? I want you to live. Really live, not just survive in the shadows of my world. You deserve more than this." Something about his words sparked anger in me. After everything, he wanted to just send me away like a problem to be solved. "And what about you?" "I'll keep doing what I've been doing. Managing Salvatore's businesses, keeping my mother safe, existing. That's not living. That's slow death. It's the only option I have." "Bullshit." I leaned forward despite my ribs protesting. "You're choosing to stay trapped. Choosing to let your uncle control you. To protect my mother. There are other ways to protect her. Better ways than bowing to a man who's blackmailing you." "Like what?" "If I move against Salvatore, he kills her. If I run, he kills her. If I do anything except exactly what he wants, she dies. What other way is there?" "We find one." The word, "we," hung in the air between us. Dante shook his head. "There is no we. You're leaving, getting safe, living your life. Stop telling me what to do. I'm not some damsel you need to rescue. I beat Leonardo, remember? I beat your uncle. I can handle myself. This isn't about fighting. This is about survival. Salvatore doesn't fight fair. He doesn't give second chances. You got lucky with him once. You won't get lucky again. Then we make sure there isn't a again. We find a way to get your mother out from under his control. It's impossible. He has her location guarded. The facility is loyal to him. Even if I could get her out, where would we go? He has connections everywhere. In every city, every country. We'd be running forever. Better than being trapped forever. Not if it gets you killed." We stared at each other across the table, neither willing to back down. Finally, Dante spoke quietly. Why are you doing this? After everything I've put you through, why would you want to help me? Because I stopped, the words catching in my throat. Because you were right. What we have is real. I feel it too. And I'm not walking away from something real just because it's difficult. Claire. Besides, someone needs to teach Salvatore that he can't just control everyone around him. Might as well be us. A small smile touched Dante's lips. The first genuine smile I'd seen from him in days. You're insane. Probably. But I'm also right. He reached across the table, his hand palm up. An offering. A question. I placed my hand in his. If we do this, he said seriously, there's no going back. Salvatore will come after us with everything he has. We'll be making an enemy of one of the most powerful men in the country. Then we better be smart about it. You don't even know what you're agreeing to. The violence, the danger, the constant threat. I know exactly what I'm agreeing to.
I'm choosing you, Dante.
All of you, including the complicated parts. His grip tightened on my hand. We'll need help. People we can trust. Do you have people like that? A few. Men who are loyal to me, not Salvatore. But it won't be enough. We'd need leverage. Something that makes moving against us more costly than just letting us go. What kind of leverage? Information. Proof of his illegal activities. Something concrete that could bring down his entire organization if it went public. Do you have access to that kind of information?
Some of it.
But the really damaging stuff, the evidence that could actually hurt him, he keeps that locked down tight. Only his inner circle has access. Then we get someone from his inner circle to help us.
Who?
Everyone close to Salvatore is terrified of him. They'd never betray him. I thought for a moment, what about someone who's already being forced to do things they don't want to do? Someone else he's blackmailing. Dante's eyes widened. Antonio. Salvatore's accountant. He's been skimming money from the organization for years to pay for his daughter's cancer treatments. Salvatore knows about it. Uses it to keep him in line. Would he help us? If we could protect his daughter, get her the treatment she needs without Salvatore's money? Maybe. He's kept records, documentation, of everything. Insurance in case Salvatore ever decides he's disposable. Then that's where we start. Dante studied me for a long moment. You're really sure about this?
No. I'm terrified.
But I'm sure about you. About us. That's enough. He stood, moved around the table, and pulled me carefully to my feet. His arms wrapped around me, mindful of my injured ribs. I don't deserve you, he whispered against my hair. Probably not, but you're stuck with me anyway. We stood there in the corner of the coffee shop, two people who should never have met, planning something impossible. We'll need time to plan, Dante said. Need to approach Antonio carefully, make sure he's actually willing to help before we commit to anything. How long?
A week.
Maybe 2. We do this right, or we don't do it at all. And in the meantime? In the meantime, you stay at my place. The penthouse. It's safe, and I can protect you there. Dante, I can take care of myself. I know you can. But let me do this anyway.
Please.
After watching what Salvatore did to you, I need to know you're somewhere he can't easily reach. I wanted to argue. Wanted to insist on my independence. But the truth was, my apartment wasn't safe anymore. Salvatore knew where I lived. His men could show up anytime. Okay. But I'm not hiding. I'm not going to sit around being protected while you do all the work. I wouldn't expect anything less. We left the coffee shop together, Marco waiting outside with the car. The drive back to the penthouse felt different this time. Not like running away, but like moving forward. Together. Over the next week, Dante and I became partners in something bigger than either of us. He taught me about his world. The businesses, the connections, the delicate balance of power that kept everything running. I helped him plan, strategize, think through scenarios. We also grew closer. Real conversations late into the night. Shared meals. Quiet moments where we could just be two people instead of pawns in someone else's game. My ribs healed slowly. The bruises faded. And with each passing day, I felt stronger. More certain that we were doing the right thing. 8 days after that night in the coffee shop, Dante came home with news. I talked to Antonio. He's willing to help. My heart jumped. Really? He's been waiting for someone to stand up to Salvatore. Someone brave enough or stupid enough to actually try. He has everything we need. Financial records, communication logs, evidence of murders, bribes, everything. What does he want in return? Safe passage for him and his daughter. New identities, enough money to start over somewhere far from here. And guaranteed protection until they're settled. Can we do that? I have contacts. People who owe me favors. We can make it happen. He pulled me close. This is really happening, Claire. We're actually going to do this. Are you scared? Terrified. But also hopeful for the first time in years. Because of you. I kissed him then, pouring everything I felt into it. All the fear and hope and love I'd been too afraid to name. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathless. When do we move? I asked. Antonio needs 3 days to compile everything, make copies, ensure we have backup files. Then we approach Salvatore together. Show him what we have. Give him a choice. You think he'll let us walk away? If the alternative is his entire empire collapsing? Maybe. He's ruthless, but he's also pragmatic. If holding on to control over me means losing everything else, he might cut his losses. And if he doesn't? Dante's expression went dark. Then we go to war. And we win or we die. 3 days felt like 3 years. Every moment charged with anticipation and dread. We prepared for every scenario. Had contingency plans for our contingency plans. Made sure Antonio's daughter was safe, ready to be moved at a moment's notice. Finally, the day arrived. Antonio delivered the files personally. Boxes of documents, flash drives full of digital evidence. Enough to put Salvatore away for multiple lifetimes. This is everything, Antonio said, his hands shaking. Everything he's done. Everyone he's hurt. It's all here. Thank you, Dante told him. You're doing the right thing. I hope so. Because if this goes wrong, my daughter and I are dead. It won't go wrong. Antonio left and Dante made the call. Uncle, we need to meet. Tonight. Just us. I have something you need to see. Whatever Salvatore said made Dante's jaw tighten, but he stayed calm. Trust me. You'll want to see this in private. The warehouse where you fought Claire. Midnight. Come alone. He hung up and looked at me. It's done. Tonight, everything changes. Midnight found us back in the same warehouse where I'd fought Salvatore. The space felt different now, charged with purpose instead of dread. Dante had brought Marco and 2 other men he trusted absolutely. They waited in the shadows, armed and ready. I stood beside Dante in the center of the space, a briefcase full of documents at our feet. Right at midnight, Salvatore arrived. He came with 6 men, all armed, all dangerous. But when he saw us standing there together, something flickered in his expression. Nephew, I see you've brought your pet. Claire is here as my partner, Dante said calmly. And before you say anything else, you need to see what we have. He opened the briefcase. Inside were documents, flash drives, photographs, evidence of decades of criminal activity. Salvatore's face went pale as he recognized what he was seeing. How did you get this? Does it matter? What matters is that we have copies. Multiple copies in multiple locations. If anything happens to me, to Claire, to my mother, or to anyone we care about, all of this goes public. To the FBI, to the press, to every law enforcement agency in the country. You're bluffing. Dante pulled out his phone and showed him a screen. That's tomorrow's newspaper headline, ready to go live if I send the signal. That's an FBI agent who's been waiting years for concrete evidence against you. That's a list of your business partners who will turn on you the second they know this information exists. Salvatore's hands clenched into fists. You would destroy everything. Your father's legacy, your own position, everything we've built. You destroyed my father. You've been holding me hostage for 5 years. I'm done, uncle. Done bowing, done pretending, done letting you control every aspect of my life. And what about your mother? My mother gets transferred to a facility of my choosing. Under my care, not yours. That's non-negotiable. You think I'll just agree to this? Just let you walk away? I think you're smart enough to know when you've lost. Fight me on this, and you lose everything. Let me go, let my mother go, and you keep your empire. All your businesses, all your power, all your connections. The only thing you lose is control over me. Salvatore looked at me. This was your idea, wasn't it? Does it matter? You've corrupted him. Made him weak. I made him strong enough to stand up to you. I shot back. That's not weakness. That's courage. For a long moment, no one moved. The tension was thick enough to choke on. Then Salvatore laughed. It was bitter, angry, but genuine. 5 years I've controlled you. 5 years of perfect obedience. And one woman undoes all of it in 2 weeks. He shook his head. Your father would have been proud. Or furious. Probably both. So we have a deal? What choice do I have? You've backed me into a corner. Salvatore moved closer, his eyes hard. But understand this. You're dead to me after tonight. No protection, no backup, no resources. You walk away with what you have, and you don't come back. That's all I'm asking for. And you. Salvatore looked at me again. You beat me in a fair fight. Earned my respect. But respect in my world is different than friendship. If our paths cross again, if you ever threaten me or mine again, I will end you. No hesitation, no merci. Understood. Salvatore gestured to his men, and they retreated toward the exit. Before he left, he turned back one last time. Your mother will be transferred tomorrow. After that, she's your problem.
And Dante?
Don't ever contact me again. As far as I'm concerned, you died tonight. Then he was gone. Silence filled the warehouse. Did that actually just work? I asked. Dante pulled me against him, his whole body shaking. I think so. I think we're actually free. Marco and the others emerged from the shadows, all of them looking as shocked as we felt. Boss, what now? Marco asked. Now we get my mother to safety. We make sure Antonio and his daughter are protected. And then, Dante looked at me. Then we figure out what comes next. The next 48 hours were a blur of activity. Dante's mother was transferred to a private care facility 3 states away, somewhere Salvatore's influence didn't reach. Antonio and his daughter were given new identities and relocated to the West Coast with enough money to start fresh. Dante liquidated his legitimate assets, the parts of his businesses that weren't tied to Salvatore's empire. It was enough to set us up comfortably, if not extravagantly. We left the city on a Tuesday morning, driving out before dawn like thieves. Which, in a way, we were. We'd stolen ourselves back from a man who'd owned us. 3 days later, we arrived in a small coastal town 600 miles away. The kind of place where no one asked too many questions and people minded their own business. We rented a house overlooking the ocean. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. Clean and safe and far from the violence we'd left behind. I stood on the deck that first night, watching the sun set over the water. Dante came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. Any regrets? He asked.
Not one.
You. Only that I didn't do this years ago. You weren't ready years ago. Sometimes the right thing only becomes possible when the right person shows up. Are you the right person, Claire Dalton? I turned in his arms. I'm your person. That's what matters. He kissed me as the sun disappeared below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. What do we do now? I asked when we finally broke apart. Whatever we want. That's the beauty of freedom. We get to choose. I want to open a gym. Teach kids to box like my father taught me. Then we'll open a gym. What about you? What do you want? He thought for a moment. Honestly, I just want normal. Wake up next to you, have breakfast, maybe learn to surf or something equally ridiculous. Be boring for the first time in my life. Boring sounds perfect. We stood there together as night fell, Two people who'd fought their way out of darkness into something that looked a lot like hope. 6 months later, I stood in the middle of our gym, watching a class of 12 kids work the heavy bags. They ranged from 8 to 16, all of them learning the same lessons my father had taught me. Keep your guard up, Tommy. Sarah, nice combination. Remember, boxing isn't about anger. It's about control. Dante walked in carrying 2 smoothies from the place down the street. He'd put on a little weight, the good kind that came from regular meals and not constantly looking over your shoulder. His hair was longer, less severe. He looked younger somehow, despite being the same age. How's the class? He asked, handing me a smoothie.
Good.
Tommy's got real potential. Sarah too. They're both natural fighters. Like their teacher. I learned from the best. After class ended and the kids filtered out, we locked up and walked home along the beach. It had become our routine. Morning run, gym work, evening walk. Simple, predictable, perfect. I talked to my mother today, Dante said as we walked. She had a good day. Remember my name, asked about you. That's wonderful. The doctors say the new treatment is helping, slowing the progression. She might have years of good days ahead of her.
I'm glad.
We'd visited her every month since settling here. The care facility was only 2 hours away, close enough to be present but far enough to stay safe. Angela had taken to me immediately, insisting I was too pretty for her troublemaker son. On her good days, she told stories about Dante as a child. On bad days, she forgot who we were entirely. But she was safe. That's what mattered. Any word from Antonio? I asked. Got a text yesterday. His daughter's cancer is in remission. He started a restaurant in Seattle. Says business is good. I'm happy for him. Me too. We reached our house as the sun was setting. Inside, everything smelled like the dinner Dante had started in the slow cooker that morning. He'd taken to cooking with an enthusiasm that never failed to make me smile. Over dinner, he brought up something we'd been dancing around for weeks. I've been thinking about us. About the future. Okay. We've been living day to day since we got here, which was necessary at first, but I think we're past that now. Past just surviving. What are you saying? He reached across the table and took my hand. I'm saying I want to plan a future with you. A real future. Not just hoping we make it through each day, but actually building something. What kind of something? Whatever kind you want. Marriage if you want that. Kids, maybe. Or just continuing what we have now. I don't care about the specifics. I just care that it's with you. My throat tightened. You want to marry me? Eventually. When you're ready. No pressure, no timeline. Just know that's where my head is. Has been for months. I came around the table and sat in his lap, careful and deliberate. Ask me. What? Ask me properly. Right now. Claire, I don't have a ring. I haven't planned anything. I don't need a ring. I need you. So ask me. He cupped my face in his hands, his eyes searching mine. Claire Dalton, will you marry me? Will you build a life with me? Fight beside me? Wake up next to me for as many days as we get? Will you be my partner in everything? Yes. The kiss that followed was soft and sweet and full of promise. We should call your mother, I said when we finally broke apart. She'll want to know. Tomorrow. Tonight. I just want this to be ours. We moved to the couch, curled up together watching the ocean through our windows. The waves rolled in endlessly, constant and reliable. Do you ever miss it? I asked. Your old life. The power, the respect, the excitement. Sometimes I miss the certainty. Always knowing my place, my role. But then I wake up next to you, and I remember why I left. This is better. This is real.
No regrets.
Only one. What's that? I regret not meeting you sooner. Think of all the time we wasted not knowing each other. We met exactly when we were supposed to. You weren't ready before, and neither was I. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You were just too arrogant to notice. He laughed and pulled me closer. I love you, Claire Dalton. Soon to be Claire Moretti. I love you too. We sat there as darkness fell, planning our future. A small wedding, just a few friends. Maybe adopting a dog. Expanding the gym as the business grew. Ordinary dreams for two people who'd fought so hard for the right to be ordinary. My phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number. Congratulations are in order, I hear. Dante's mother mentioned an engagement. I'm happy for you both. Truly. Consider this my wedding gift. I've erased all record of your previous life. As far as anyone knows, you're just two people who moved to a coastal town to start over. Live well. You earned it. It was unsigned, but I knew who it was from.
Salvatore.
I showed it to Dante. He read it twice, his expression unreadable. What do you think? I asked. I think he means it. In his own way, he's giving us his blessing. Clearing our slate so we can really start fresh. Do you trust it? As much as I trust anything from him. Which means we stay vigilant, but we also move forward with our lives. We don't let the past hold us hostage anymore. I deleted the message and tossed my phone aside. So, Mrs. Soon-to-be Moretti, what do you want to do tonight? I want to do exactly this. Sit with you, watch the ocean, and appreciate how far we've come. Not very exciting. After everything we've been through, boring is exactly what I want. He kissed the top of my head. Then boring it is. But life, I was learning, had a way of never staying boring for long. 2 weeks later, a woman walked into our gym. She was young, maybe 22, with bruises she tried to hide under makeup and fear in her eyes. Are you Claire? The one who used to fight? I still fight.
Just different battles now.
What can I do for you? I need to learn how to defend myself. My boyfriend, he's connected. Powerful. I want to leave him, but I'm scared. I looked at Dante.
He looked at me.
We both knew what this was. History repeating itself. Another person trapped, needing help to break free. Tell me everything, I said, leading her to my office. As she told her story, tears streaming down her face, I realized something important. We'd gotten out. We'd built our freedom. But that didn't mean our fighting days were over. Some battles you fight for yourself. Others you fight for people who don't yet know they're strong enough to fight. Dante stood in the doorway, listening to her story. When our eyes met, I saw understanding there. This was who we were now. Not criminals, not victims, but people who'd survived darkness and learned to help others find the light. We'll help you, I told the woman. Whatever you need, we'll figure it out together.
Why?
You don't even know me. Because someone helped us once. Because everyone deserves a chance to choose their own life. Because fighting isn't always about throwing punches. Sometimes it's about standing up when standing up seems impossible. She started crying harder, but these were different tears. Relief, hope, gratitude. After she left with a plan and our phone numbers, Dante pulled me close. You know what this means, right? We can't just be normal now. There'll be others. People who need help getting out of bad situations. I know. You okay with that? I thought about my father, about the kids he'd trained and saved from the streets. About how his gym had been more than a place to learn boxing. It had been a sanctuary. More than okay. I think this is what we're supposed to do. Use what we learned, what we survived, to help others survive too. Then I guess we're not quite done fighting after all.
No.
But this time, we're fighting for the right reasons. For people instead of against them. He kissed me, and I felt the rightness of it. This was our purpose. Not just surviving, but helping others find their own way out of darkness. Over the next few months, word spread quietly. People who needed help, who were trapped in bad situations with dangerous people, found their way to our gym. We helped where we could. Sometimes it was just teaching them to fight back. Other times it was more complicated. Safe houses, new identities, creative solutions to impossible problems. We weren't heroes. We were just two people who knew what it meant to be trapped and who refused to let others stay trapped if we could help it. And at night, we'd come home to our house by the ocean. We'd have dinner, talk about our day, make plans for the future. We'd be normal and boring and perfectly happy. Standing in our kitchen one night, washing dishes while Dante dried, I thought about everything that had led us here. The spilled wine, the fight, the lies and revelations and desperate choices. What are you thinking about? Dante asked, bumping my shoulder with his. How none of this was in my plan. How a year ago, I was just trying to pay off debt and survive. Now I'm engaged to a former Mafia boss, running a gym that's secretly a sanctuary, and happier than I've ever been. Life's funny that way. It really is. I turned to face him, this man who'd been my enemy, then my challenge, then my partner, and finally my love. Thank you. For what? For being brave enough to want something different. For seeing me as more than just a waitress who spilled wine. For choosing us over everything else. Thank you for refusing to bow. For fighting when you should have run. For loving me despite everything I came from. We kissed there in our kitchen, with dish soap on our hands and the sound of the ocean coming through the open windows.
This was our life now.
Simple, complicated, dangerous, safe, ordinary, and extraordinary all at once. And I wouldn't change a single thing. So to everyone out there listening to this story, wherever you are, whatever you're going through, remember this. You're stronger than you think. Braver than you know. And sometimes the best things in life come from the moments when you refuse to stay down. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this with someone who needs to hear that standing up for yourself is always worth it, even when it's terrifying. And remember, every fight you survive makes you stronger for the next one. My name is Claire Dalton Moretti. This was the story of how I went from serving criminals to marrying one, and how we both learned that freedom is something you fight for every single day. Thank you for listening. Until next time, keep fighting the good fight.